From the very first moment I saw her on that quiet wooden porch, smiling at the world as if nothing could break her spirit, I felt something shift inside me. There was a calm around her, a kind of brightness that didn't match the heaviness I carried in my chest. I had come to the countryside to escape my own failures, to hide from the noise of my life, yet the moment our eyes met, it felt like I had stumbled into someone else's story, one that demanded to be heard. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't have guessed from the radiance on her face, was that she had lived through a kind of pain I had never imagined. And before everything unfolded, before I learned who she truly was, she looked at me with an honesty that cut through the silence and said the one sentence that shook me: "Don't stay if you just feel sorry for me. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories to life." I had rented the small cabin next to hers for just a month, hoping the stillness would help me rebuild myself. My career had fallen apart, my relationships even more so, and I couldn't breathe in the city anymore. On my first morning there, I stepped outside and saw her rolling onto her porch in a wheelchair, sunlight touching her hair like she belonged in a scene too perfect for real life. She noticed me staring, embarrassed. I looked away. But she laughed softly, the kind of laugh that came from someone who had long learned to make peace with awkward moments. She greeted me warmly, and somehow that one simple interaction felt like a hand reaching out across the darkness I'd sunk into. Over the next few days, I found myself noticing things: how she always wore colors that matched the day, how she painted in the early mornings when the fog was still rising, how she spoke to everyone who passed by with a kindness that felt effortless. Not once did she mention her wheelchair, and I never asked. I assumed, foolishly, that it was temporary, something she'd recover from soon. I didn't understand how wrong I was. It wasn't until a week later, when I saw her struggling quietly as she tried to lift a canvas into her lap, that the truth revealed itself. She wasn't just sitting in the wheelchair, she relied on it. Her left leg barely moved, and her left hand trembled when she tried to grip things. I hesitated before stepping forward to help, unsure if she would allow it. But when I finally approached her, she paused, looked up at me, and gave a grateful but tired smile. Later that evening, as the sky dimmed into soft purples and the porch lights glowed, she opened up. She told me about the accident, a stormy night, a reckless driver, and the painful months that followed. Half her body had been left partially paralyzed. The doctors said she would never walk normally again. Her friends drifted away. Her partner at the time left before she even finished rehab. The world, she said, had a way of becoming smaller after tragedy. Yet she refused to let her heart shrink with it. I listened without knowing what to say. The strength behind her words, the quiet acceptance in her voice, it humbled me. I had run from my problems while she had fought hers with everything she had left. But the moment that changed everything came unexpectedly. I had been helping her carry a box of art supplies inside, and she caught me glancing at her wheelchair again. She stopped me with a firm, steady look, one that didn't match her soft voice, and she said, "Don't stay if you just feel sorry for me. I don't need another person who thinks I'm broken." Her words hit me harder than I expected. That was when I understood, what she feared wasn't loneliness or pain. It was pity. She wanted to be seen, not rescued. Over the following days, something shifted between us, something unspoken but deeply real. We began sharing small parts of our lives. I told her about the mistakes I had made, the opportunities one lost, the fear that I might never become the person I hoped to be. She listened the way only someone who had rebuilt herself could, without judgment, without rushing, without trying to fix me. In return, she showed me her world. The way she learned to move differently. The way she adjusted her home so she could paint again. The way she refused to let her story end in tragedy. Her strength didn't scream, it whispered, quietly but fiercely. And every day, I found myself drawn deeper into the resilience she carried like an invisible flame. One evening, after a long walk, her in her chair, me beside her, We reached the edge of the field where the sunset painted everything gold. She told me she used to dance before the accident. Dance was her language, her heartbeat. Losing it felt like losing a part of herself she could never replace. But now, she said, painting became her new dance. Every stroke on the canvas was a step. Every color was a rhythm she could still feel. I realized then that she hadn't just survived, she had transformed. As the final week of my stay approached, I felt a heaviness in my chest. I didn't want to leave. Not because I pitied her, but because she had become the light I didn't know I needed. She taught me that brokenness wasn't the end. That healing didn't always look like returning to who you were, it often meant becoming someone new. On my last morning there, she handed me a small painting, a simple scene of two silhouettes watching a sunrise. She said it reminded her of us, of how two strangers met at the edge of their own endings and somehow created a beginning. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more stories that inspire and heal.